One of the most misconceptions about creative fulfillment is that it's just about making the thing that you want to do and how you'd want to do it, and whatever you'd want to express. But that almost sounds like, hey, if you're depressed, just be happy. It's a mindset thing. What I'm trying to say is that it's a lot more complicated. I'm always about taking care of yourself and others outside of animation. Live a life that is balanced, something that has a decent amount of work, something that has a decent amount of lifestyle. But what if that isn't enough to fulfill you as an artist, as a creative person? When I was new to the industry, there was an article written by ToonBoom about an American animator who moved to Japan to work in anime, and that guy is Henry Thurlow. I do remember him saying in the article that it's really difficult to break into the anime industry, especially as a foreigner. On top of that, the skills needed to work in anime is highly demanding. And I think by the time he finally broke in, he realized how difficult the labor situation was working in anime. He talks about when he was back in America, he had a life outside of animation but wasn't creatively fulfilled, but working in anime, he feels that that itch has been fulfilled but doesn't really have a life outside of it. Now, I personally don't have any strong opinions about an industry that I don't fully understand. And remember, this was an article that was written almost 10 years ago, so things may have changed, including Henry Thurlow himself. But let's go back to the past when I first saw this article. I didn't really agree with it. If you wanted to have creative fulfillment, why not just make your own projects outside of work? Why not try doing the thing that you want to do without having to move overseas? I know how difficult it is to move abroad, to adjust to a new life, to get settled, and then back then just hearing stories of how unforgiving that industry is. It just comes across as, if you want to get into this industry, if you want to work in animation, if you want to show that you really love it, you have to suffer for it, you have to work super hard for it, you have to kill yourself over it. Look how much I'm suffering, look how hard I'm working compared to other people. Look how much I'm a true creative animation person. A lot of young, passionate people think like this too, by the way. The idea of someone taking it easy just baffles them. But look, I too was young, a young student with dumb opinions. And the thing about young students or young people is that they tend to have judgment over things that they don't really understand. And I'm not here to say that I fully understand what Henry Thurlow was going through at the time, but having been in this industry for about 10 years now, seeing the ups and downs of this industry and seeing how I relate to my craft within the industry, creative fulfillment is complicated. With industry work, there's no secret that I've been involved with projects that I'm not really proud of or I didn't really enjoy working on. Whether it's the project itself, the people involved, or, the production, we're constantly being told to stick to our lanes and don't really intermingle with other departments. Whereas when I do my own projects, I have autonomy and full control over what I do with them. I get to express myself in how I view myself and how I view my medium. So you might be thinking, uh-oh, here goes Toniko talking about passion projects again. What a passion project, bro. Just do passion projects to get that fulfillment. Well, let's get some points out of the way. Not everyone wants to do a passion project to get that creative fulfillment itch. Creative fulfillment can be found anywhere if you find the right project or the right place. And second, working on a personal passion project, especially when you're involved in every step and when you're making that thing by yourself, it can be a very lonely experience. And I want to talk more about that. Loneliness comes in many different ways. So when we think of loneliness, it just means, oh, you have no one to talk to, you have no friends, no family, nothing to share your life with, etc. But even as someone who has loved ones, who has friends, when I work on my own stuff, I have to call all the shots, I have to make all the moves, I have to take charge of everything. And on top of that, I'm dealing with a lot of inner doubt and anxieties. Am I making the right choice by making a decision? Does this thing I'm working on best reflect who I am? What purpose do I have doing this project? So a lot of these things are very internal. It's not really easy to put into words. It's not really easy to talk about to other people. Doing therapy definitely helped me put it into words, but even if I can do that, it's hard for other people to relate to it. I have friends and coworkers who are supportive, but they don't necessarily share the same feelings, the same passion, the same drive. You'll sometimes hear that artistic or creative people are so intense, but you can't really understand where it's coming from or relate to it. Well, maybe this is the case. And it doesn't really help someone like me is very hard on themselves. In one of my recent videos, I talk about the difference between just drawing for the sake of drawing and being creative. Being creative requires a lot of thinking, a lot of problem solving. And you know what? That's what I'm just gonna say. Creativity is problem solving. and making absolute choices that you can back up. Let me give you a scenario. Let's say I have an idea for a story, so I start drawing characters and a setting for it. And then I'll come up with so many different variations of what the story could be. And I have to make a final decision of the story that I want to tell. And let's talk about animation, because performance and acting, that plays a huge role in character animation. The thing about acting and performance is that they're all subjective. And truth to be told, it's all about being honest with yourself. So it's a lot of like digging through that, balance things out, and figuring out what this thing is supposed to be. And what if you're mentally drained from being creative, meaning problem solving and making decisions? Now, I don't blame anyone who doesn't want to do a passion or personal project, because it's a lot of work, not only creative-wise, but discipline and willpower-wise. And again, it's not the only way to find creative fulfillment. And let's talk about the people involved, because community also affects the way you view your craft. I remember hanging out with a bunch of animation people who were all about pitching shows and hustling, and I got burned out from it, and it kind of alienated my feelings towards my own work and the industry. Then I started out talking to more animators who are just as passionate, just as driven, but they're not really in it for making a show or climbing up the career ladder, but making things that felt very honest to them. Would you believe that there are people who appreciate the pain, the blood, sweat and tears, the suffering? It gives them a sense of purpose and fulfillment. When I put it that way, that sounds pretty shit, right? But what if I replace that view with the challenges, the hardcore learning experience? Something to look forward to as you go closer to your goal. The harsh journey matters more than the destination, because the journey is where you learn about yourself and you face your own conflicts. Maybe going through the harsh process where you're learning about yourself, it gives you a sense of purpose. It makes you feel alive, and that could lead to you feeling creatively fulfilled. Now, when I was working on student films, I was sleep deprived, I was crunching, but I had friends who were also going through the same thing. We were making films together. It's not something that I would love to repeat again and again, but I highly appreciated that experience. I learned a lot about myself, and those were fond memories to me. And when I knew that whole process, I felt way more fulfilled when I finished them. And that's something I want to talk about. The learning process is what brings me creative fulfillment for sure. When I feel like I improved on my skills and my draftsmanship and my approach in general, I know for sure that I feel fulfilled. When I start learning a new program and software and I make a product out of it, it feels good. I took up freelance for a project that I knew was really challenging and demanding. It would take me a lot of labor work, and it was also a huge pay cut compared to my union job in the industry. The way I viewed it was work for a workshop that I was doing for a class that I wasn't really paying for, but getting small little bits of money in it. And the purpose of workshops, well, in my point of view, is to learn something. So there are times where money isn't such a big deal for you. You have enough savings where you can get by. You're doing a certain job just because you want that lifetime experience of learning something and to be involved in the something. You may have opinions about that, but I'm pretty sure many creative people will get what I'm trying to say here. Some people will argue that having ownership of a certain something gives them creative fulfillment. And when I talk about ownership, it's not really about this belongs to who or copyright or legality. I'm talking about the involvement you've had within something. Like, you've had more responsibility, you've been through the process from beginning to end, you've had more of a say or a voice on a certain thing. This could also involve, let's say, wearing multiple hats, like you've had more roles than just being a mere story artist or being a mere 2D animator. Like when I was working on Pig the Damkeeper poems, I contacted TVPAINT, I had a bit more responsibility, they could listen to my input, whereas in a major studio, there were a lot of different artists touching the work that I did, revising the work that I did, and I would do the same with other artists too. So even if I was involved with a major animation production, I can't really say that I had much of a role or an influence on that project. It's not really my vision. I pretty much only helped someone fulfill their creative vision, whereas within an independent production, I had more of a say, I had more of a voice. I was a big part of the process and a big part of revising my own work. So what I'm trying to say is that I can see why people don't feel creatively fulfilled when they just feel like they're a small gear in a bigger machine, whereas they could be a bigger gear or the driving force within that machine. I guess what I'm trying to get across is that everyone has a different meaning of what it means to be creatively fulfilled. I can't just tell you to work on a passion project or think in a completely different mindset and therefore you'll be creatively fulfilled. It doesn't work that way. Again, the misconception is being creatively fulfilled means just making the thing that you want to make. And that could be the truth for so many people. Some, like Henry Thurlow, would move to an entirely different place, a country with different people, to be around a community and to be in the work, to be in the environment that makes them creatively fulfilled. Some say finishing their own projects give them creative fulfillment. Some people feel creatively fulfilled because they've learned a lot about themselves and their work. Some people feel creatively fulfilled when going through hardships, the struggles, the pain of being in the process. Because maybe something like that gives them a little bit of purpose, and that purpose brings fulfillment. Some feel fulfillment by the reception they get from other people, by the responses, by the feedback, by the love or glory. Some by their list of accomplishments or by the types of projects they've been involved with. So again, it's different for everyone. So the only real advice I can give is sort of write down what you like about the creative process. Like what part makes you feel comfortable and excited. And see if you can cater your own projects or your life around that part. And you know what? This type of stuff changes over time as you grow, as you mature. So by the time I graduated, I wanted to be this one-man army of producing short films, high quality all the time. And I wanted to carry a big reputation in the animation industry, probably win awards here and there, and wanting every prolific place to want me to be a part of their team. But I think nowadays the things that get me creatively fulfilled is just getting something done regardless of the quality and just being completely honest with myself. So if I want to make projects that feel more true to me than me trying to impress a certain crowd, for example. But yeah, see if you can write a list of what makes you excited about the creating process and see if you can cater your work and your lifestyle around that. One thing that I've been trying out recently in terms of creative fulfillment is trying out different projects. When it comes to storytelling, I would explore different themes, vibes, genres, or even ways to tell that story. We all have a profound sentimental side, a goofy side, a really dark side that we don't really want to touch, but for some reason we need to confront it, and a side where we just don't want to think too hard at all. I guess this also involves exploring with different mediums. I've been exploring comics to see how I feel about it when I'm expressing stories, when I'm expressing characters through the medium of comics, because again, animation takes a lot of time. It helps put your ideas into writing, kind of summarizing what the projects are about, why you're making it, what you're trying to say with the project, what challenges you're going to face with that project. Because sometimes it helps to have a little bit of purpose other than a project merely existing, because sometimes that battery. Interested in learning hand-drawn animation or learning how to finish an animated shot from beginning to end? Have a look at the store where you'll find the complete Introduction to 2D Animation video course, tutorials, and other resources. Learn classical animation approaches, drawing, lectures, techniques, and other process videos. Visit the store through the link in the description below.